holy name. Please come tomorrow. Or you can, of course, also watch it online. But my experience is when people watch it online, they're not that attentive. You know? They do other things parallel. Half of the talk flies past their ears. They don't even hear it unless they really sit glued to the screen there and watch. And most people don't. They do multitasking, and you know, then half of the discussion they may not even catch. Yeah, so that will be our last topic. Initially, we had planned another program for Tuesday evening, but I cancelled it because Wednesday early morning, 4:30, I have to go to the airport, and it's just a bit too intense for me to have another program in the evening before. Okay. I'm just thinking, but we are limited in time because I haven't even introduced myself to you. Let me just say a few words because many people may wonder, where is she from?
Can be a little bit longer, yes.
Can it? Okay, good. Yeah, so I am by birth, I am from Germany, but I haven't lived there for 41 years. Yeah, but I still have a German passport. So, but I met Krishna consciousness in Australia in 1985. So I'm not a disciple of Prabhupada, but I'm aspiring to become a Prabhupada Anuga, somebody who follows Prabhupada very strictly. So I met Krishna consciousness in Australia, traveling the world, looking for a higher purpose to life, and then week of meeting the devotees, I joined this. This is what I was looking for. So then I spent about 4 years in the ladies' ashram in Sydney, getting training and all the basic things of devotional life. Then I was married for 10 years. That's when we started the temple in Riga. Anybody has been to Riga? Temple? A few people. Yeah, so we got that building. It was a demolished building, and we just moved and fixed it up, and it was a whole big adventure. Yes, and we had 65 brahmacharis in that place, and 30 brahmacharinis. So it was buzzing. Not that we all brought them to Krishna consciousness, but they came from all over former Soviet Union. This was in '89. Just when the Iron Curtain fell, when the communist system fell apart. So it was a perfect time. So yeah, and then 1999, my ex-husband decided to take a break from me and from Krishna consciousness. And he remarried a non-devotee, and I'm not quite sure where he is now. So, and then I moved on to the renounced phase in life. So, and for the last 26 years, I've been living out of a suitcase. I spent 5 months per year preaching and traveling in India and Bangladesh. Anybody here from Bangladesh? Nobody. I met a few, but not today, looks like it. So India, Bangladesh, and then 7 months per year, all around the world actually. Sometimes I go to US and Australia, New Zealand, and Kenya, and Mauritius, South Africa, all around Europe. There's so many places to go. And I've published 6 books. So at the very end of our talk, I do want to show you one more time the books, even though you may have heard it already, but maybe not. Because for many of you today may be the last chance to get some, because they're all very important topics. And it would be such an honor and pleasure for me to put these books in your hand. They're all practical application topics. I'm trying to make Prabhupada's teachings more accessible to people, how to actually apply it in their daily life. This is a very important topic. Yeah, so that's my humble mission. So now today, we want to talk a little bit about the power of consciousness. What is consciousness at all? right? We always talk about consciousness, and after all, we are the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, but maybe we don't even know what consciousness is and where it comes from. So let us become a little more conscious of consciousness. Because Prabhupada was saying, before becoming Krishna conscious, we first have to become conscious. So let's today become conscious of consciousness. Yes. So, and also, how does our consciousness affect others? How are we affected by other people's consciousness? It's all very subtle, but definitely the effect is there. Yeah. So, in the Bhagavad Gita 13:34, there is a nice verse which describes what consciousness is. Actually, I may as well have a Bhagavad Gita. Can you give me one? An English one, please? I wouldn't know what to do with a Finnish one or a Hindi one or whatever you may have. Okay, thank you. 1334. There is a relatively short purport, so we can read this also, just to give it a bit more shastric foundation to our talk here. So I will read you the translation. Please listen carefully. O son of Bharata, as the sun alone illuminates all this universe, so does the living entity, one within the body, illuminate the entire body by consciousness. Let me first explain a few words here. So in other words, Krishna gives us this analogy. Like the sun illuminates the whole universe with its sun rays, in the same way, the soul within the body illuminates the whole body by this powerful energy called consciousness. That's what it is. So consciousness is a very powerful life force which emanates from the soul, and it floods the whole body like that. Very nice analogy, we can easily relate to it and understand. So let me read the purport. There are various theories regarding consciousness. Here in Bhagavad Gita, the example of the sun and the sunshine is given. As the sun is situated in one place, but is illuminating the whole universe, so a small particle of spirit soul, although situated in the heart of this body, is illuminating the whole body by consciousness. Thus, consciousness is the proof of the presence of the soul, as sunshine or light is the proof of the presence of the sun. Yeah. When the soul is present in the body, there's consciousness all over the body. And as soon as the soul has passed from the body, there is no more consciousness. This can be easily understood by any intelligent man and woman too. So let's try and be intelligent here. Yeah, so very simple, That's the difference between a dead body and an alive body. The dead body, the soul has moved out, and therefore there's no consciousness, and therefore there's no life. So the life force, which is the consciousness coming from the soul, has gone somewhere else with the soul. Therefore, consciousness is not a product of the combination of matter. It is the symptom of the living entity. The consciousness of the living entity, although qualitatively one with the supreme consciousness, is not supreme, because the consciousness of one particular body does not share that of another body. So basically, Prabhupada explains that, the soul is actually qualitatively the same with the Supreme Soul, with Krishna. The soul has the same qualities, just in minute quantity, like Krishna has. So, and therefore, the life force, the energy coming from that originally pure soul is actually also pure. Yeah, but by the soul being here in the material world, it gets influenced by the three modes of nature, and therefore it's not so pure anymore. The super soul, which is situated in all bodies as the friend of the individual soul, is conscious of all bodies. That is the difference between supreme consciousness and individual consciousness. So in other words, our consciousness, we are only conscious of this body. Thank God. Just imagine if we would be conscious of every body, that would be terrible, Thank God. We are only conscious of this one body. That's enough to handle, I think, for most of us, Yeah. But Krishna is there as super soul in everyone's heart, and he is conscious of each and every living entity, not only human beings, So understanding all this makes it very clear that as soon as, as soon as there is life there, as soon as there is the soul present in some form of life, there's consciousness. So it means animals, of course, also have consciousness. Trees, vegetables, flowers, any form of life. As soon as there is growth and byproducts, it means a soul is present. And as soon as a soul is present, it means there's consciousness. Yeah, often we are not even aware of these things. Yes. And in some species of life, the consciousness is on a higher level. And some species of life, it's more dull, more covered, But consciousness is there, definitely. We will discover this today. Yes, so, and the consciousness is not only flooding the whole body, it also, of course, keeps every cell of the body alive. Yes, every cell, the metabolism, the consciousness keeps that alive. So I'm coming from a medical background. So I remember in my work, like if you, for example, cut off the tip of your finger, cutting up the vegetables, sometimes these things happen. You have only very short time to stitch it back on. Only 10, 15 minutes or something. If the time span is longer, then the cells are longer separated from the powerhouse of consciousness, and then they die off. Yeah, like when you transplant organs, it has to go really fast, otherwise the heart or kidney or whatever, the cells are dead and you can't transplant it. Actually, somebody sent me a link and I thought, okay, let me see what's this all about. And they were saying that they often rip out the organs when the person is actually not dead yet, because it's big business too. Yeah. And there was a whole discussion on this, that people, when they, have agreed to give their organs, and the doctors take the organ, they they actually protest. They sit up and protest. No, sorry, can't have it. Yeah. So that's how little time we have. Yeah, and sometimes they just rip out the organs before you're actually dead. So yeah, when I heard that, I'm not sure if I want to give my organs, maybe better not. Yes. Anyway, so yeah, consciousness is in every cell of the body. Also good to know for pregnant ladies, the child in the womb completely is flooded by the mother's consciousness. Yeah, good to know. Yes, yes. So that's why pregnant ladies, the child raising starts already during pregnancy. In fact, even before pregnancy. Because according to our consciousness, at the moment of conception, that attracts a certain soul to take birth in our family. It's a whole science. I'm giving a whole course on this also, Garbada and Samskara. Yeah. How to invite a more elevated soul to take birth in our family. Not a coincidence who takes birth in our family, Yes. So, sometimes parents complain, oh, my child doesn't want to take to Krishna consciousness. Well, what kind of consciousness were you in when you conceived the child? So don't complain. We get what we deserve. But of course, it's not everything. Also the training and so on, and the environment, and it's all important. But yeah, I know devotees where the parents were not even familiar with Krishna consciousness. But they told me that they are the only child in the family who were really wanted and planned, where the mother was praying to the Lord, to Jesus, oh, please send me a wonderful person to take birth in my womb there. Yes. And that child became a devotee, whereas the others, no interest. So Krishna is so kind, even if we don't know anything about him, but if we're just desiring to have a child and we pray for a nice child to come and enter our family, then he sends a more elevated soul, because we continue each life where we left off in previous life. Thank God. Krishna allows us to keep whatever progress we made. If he wouldn't do that, then we would never have a chance to get anywhere here, to get out of this material world. But we are allowed to keep whatever progress we made. Yeah, so the mother, her child in the womb is flooded with her consciousness. So that's why pregnancy, the mother should be very peaceful and no anxiety, no stress, no arguments, and she should enjoy life in Krishna consciousness, reading, chanting, bhajans, singing, doing puja. And that already affects the child in the womb. My God, what a good start. Yeah. And then even later when she breastfeeds the child, her consciousness is in every molecule of the milk. Yeah. The scientists say the child gets the immune system of the mother. Yeah, well, that's just the growth thing. But it becomes much more subtle. Not only immune system, but consciousness. Yes. So many things to learn. Let me share a little story which is almost a medical proof how consciousness is in every cell of the body. So I know one Vaishnav family in Australia, where he had a kidney failure. And the wife donated one of her kidneys to him. And she was the only one in the family who loved to eat chocolate. Nobody else in the family was keen on chocolate, but she had her chocolate stash there in her cupboard. And when they came home from the surgery, she felt like having some chocolate. And she went to her cupboard and whoops, the chocolate was gone. So she was asking her husband, do you have a clue where the chocolate went? And he was a little embarrassed and admitting, well, something overcame me. And I felt such an urge to eat some chocolate. So I pinched it and ate it all. So then they thought, oh, maybe this is connected with this kidney transplantation. So next time they went for a checkup, they were telling the doctor the story. And he was smiling, saying, oh, yes, yes, we know that. Every time we transplant an organ, the person receiving it for some time has the same taste and cravings like the person donating it. And then the doctor said, it looks like organs can remember things, which is of course nonsense. Organs cannot remember things. But that doctor didn't know about the power of consciousness. That he didn't know. So her kidney was flooded with chocolate consciousness. And that chocolate consciousness emanated from the kidney when her husband had it in his body. And in that way, for some time, it was only a week or 10 days or something, he felt this urge to eat chocolate. Interesting, isn't it? It's like a medical proof how consciousness works. So of course we could say, well, maybe we should preach like that. We just donate our organs and then people get Krishna conscious. But yeah, I mean, his kidney with chocolate consciousness was flooded with his consciousness after a week or 10 days. So then the chocolate consciousness went away, it didn't last for that long. But yeah, interesting story. And I have one Prabhu, one devotee told me that his son, he had some bone mark transplantation when he was very young, when he was 2 or 3 or something. And he said it affected his child for about 1 year. He was all a bit crazy, So in our example with the kidney, it was only chocolate consciousness, whereas, in the bone mark, bone marrow, you call it bone marrow. In the bone marrow example, who knows what that person was engaging in? Maybe in all sinful activities, meat, fish, and eggs, drugs, intoxication, gambling, sex love, So, and the child's consciousness is not so formed yet. It is much more perceptible to influences, So we can imagine, it could have some bigger disturbances, rather than just only a bit of chocolate. So and now consciousness is not only flooding the whole body, but it is emanating through every pore of the skin. That's why when you look on this painting over there, we always paint saintly personalities with this effulgence, with this halo, right? Even in Christianity, we do this too, that saintly personalities always have this halo above the head, because especially through the head, that effulgence actually comes out when the person is saintly. So it emanates. And of course, not only saintly consciousness emanates, but also consciousness which is full of lust, greed, anger, envy. So that also emanates. And if we are a little perceptive, we can feel this. Yeah. And that energy, of course, is not so uplifting and nice, but it feels uncomfortable. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, there was a nice little story with Prabhupada when he walked through a city in America on the way to Rath Yatra. You know what Rath Yatra is, right? You also have Rath Yatra here. So, and he was surrounded by a group of disciples, and there was two policemen who were seeing Prabhupada, and the devotees overheard their conversation. And one policeman was saying to the other, "Look at this man, he is glowing." Even though this policeman had no clue who Prabhupada was, no clue. But he could see that Prabhupada was very shining, very effulgent. Yeah. So it is factual, it's not just something we imagine, it's not just something we use as an artistic tool or something to make clear this is a special and holy person. But no, it is factual, it can be perceived. And we may have also that experience when we have a person who we have some conflict and tension with, and we are with that person in a room, especially if the room is smaller, even though both people may not say anything, but you may feel there is some tension in the air, right? And you can feel, oh, this person is angry with me, I better keep away from him or her or something. So yeah, that's how consciousness works. And of course, every movement we do is executed by consciousness. Of course, without consciousness we can't move. So a very saintly personality, when he moves, every movement is so attractive. Often we hear Prabhupada disciples share how every movement of Prabhupada was so fascinating, so attractive. The way he would walk, the way he would smile or laugh or dance, or the way he would flick a piece of prasadam in his mouth. Everything was just so amazingly attractive. Why? Because it was executed with this perfect and sublime, pure God consciousness, which Prabhupada was in. Yeah. Yeah. And in the same way, if we go the other end of the spectrum, here's the divine, pure, godly, saintly consciousness. Here is the materialistic consciousness full of lust and greed and envy, false ego, all these not so nice qualities. So if that person walks and laughs and talks and dances, yeah, not so attractive, because his movements are executed through this consciousness of trying to bring attention to himself and be the center of attention and whatever. Yeah, so not so attractive. So yeah, like that. This is how consciousness works. And of course, whatever we create with our hands, consciousness enters that object we create, right? Because consciousness comes out through our fingertips here and it enters what we create. So I'm sure we have all heard, that the consciousness of the cook enters the food he cooks, right? We have heard that, yes? Yeah. So that's factual. It's not just something we say to twist people's arms that they should eat here at the temple or something. But no, this is really how it works. The consciousness enters the food. There's even the saying, we all know, even amongst non-devotees, we know that mother's cooking is the best, right? Hopefully her heart is full of devotion and love for her kids and the husband. So she puts all that love and devotion into the food, and that makes it really tasty and nice. Nothing goes beyond mother's cooking, especially if it is offered to Krishna. Yes, so consciousness enters the food. So that's why we don't only look, or is it vegetarian? Is it without onion and garlic? But no, we also ask, at least those of us who are really serious in wanting to make progress in bhakti, we ask, who cooked it? Yeah, who cooked it? That's what we want to know. And that's why usually at a temple we try and arrange things in such a way that the cooks are in good consciousness, that at least they follow our regulative principles, they change up every day, and of course it's a little according to how much manpower we have, or woman power. But in some temples they only have second initiates cooking. Yes, hoping that their consciousness is more highly elevated. It's not a guarantee, of course. Second initiates can also do all kinds of nonsense. Who knows? But yeah, but usually, often in smaller communities like this, we cannot have such high standard. So then the next standard is initiated devotee. If we can't follow that, then at least those who are chanting and following the principles, because the consciousness enters the food. So this means those of us who are a little more serious in making spiritual progress, we are not so keen to buy things from the shop, the bread and the cookies, or from the bakery, the cakes, even if it is without eggs, because of that point, the consciousness. Of course, if it's once in a while, let's say we visit our parents who are not devotees, and all right, they got some bread there from the shop. So we don't want to be fanatic and confront our dear mother. Sorry, I can't eat this. So once in a while, okay, as a big exception, we take that risk, But if we are in the habit every day to eat things which are not prepared by devotees, then it will definitely affect our spiritual practice and our advancement, definitely. We will get more material desires, lusty desires, because unless people are trying to practice a spiritual path, there is so much lust and greed in people's hearts. Naturally, that's what it is. It's all being promoted out there. So that goes into the cooking. And it doesn't only enter the cooking. Anything we create with our hands, the consciousness enters. So that's why handcrafted things always have a very attractive energy to themselves. Like if our mother knits a scarf for winter, her devotion and affection is in the scarf. It lingers in there as energy. And if we're a little perceptive, we can feel a big difference to something handmade and something from the factory. That's why handcrafted things always have a certain attraction there, no matter whether it's something knitted or some jewelry or whatever, or pottery or whatever it may be, consciousness enters that item. Yeah. I know one devotee in Germany, in Gelokadan rural community. He built his house over several years, basically with his own hands. He had, of course, a few little tools out of wood. And wow, when you enter his house, you can feel there's a very different energy there than some concrete block here, in the high-rise buildings or something. Yeah, so, or that's why, for example, let us imagine we move out of a flat, So as soon as our personal items are gone, the whole energy in the house changes, And as soon as we put our things there, then again the energy changes, Yes. Because the energy lingers in these items. So that's, for example, why we also, we are very keen on having items which our guru was using or which Prabhupada was using, the chadar that Prabhupada was wearing, so his energy is still lingering in that chadar. Yes. Or if our Guru Maharaj gives us some socks he was wearing, his energy are in the socks. We can worship them. Yeah, so these things are factual. It's not just some, let's try and be a little quiet. Shh. There's people here talking. Yeah, so it's factual. It's not something we just ritualistically worship or something, but no, that saintly energy is in there. Yeah. If we perceptive, we can feel it. I leave the door open because some people are out there who want to hear, but we should just be a little quieter. That's okay. Yeah. I mean, if you close it all up, then people who are out there with their kids, they can't hear anything anymore.
There is a speaker also.
Oh, there's a speaker also. Okay, well.
It seems that there's no one listening.
Okay, so. Yes. So now one more thing. Let me just quickly touch upon how there's also consciousness in plants and trees. Yeah. Especially trees. Trees are very, very interesting creatures, actually. They don't only transform carbon dioxide into oxygen, but they also take negative energy up and they give off healing energy. Yes. And they give shade and fruits and flowers and so many things, And apart from that, they do have consciousness. And I want to share an interesting story. When I was a teenager, which is quite a while ago, 50 years ago, so I heard a report on the radio. So in those days, we were listening more to the radio. There was no internet and YouTube and all these things. And it impressed me so much that I still remember it. So they were demonstrating what a tree sounds like who is peaceful. And you can transform the vibrations of consciousness into sound vibration. Don't ask me how, but they did that. So, and they demonstrated some buzzing noise. That's what a tree sounds like, that's peaceful. And then they demonstrated what a tree sounds like that is in anxiety. And oh my God, this sounded very different. I'm not trying to demonstrate it, but it was all going up and down. And then, amazingly enough, they shared why this tree was in anxiety. Because a man approached that tree who some 2 or 3 years before cut off some branches. And that tree recognized that person and was in anxiety. Oh no, not this guy is coming again. So what's he gonna do this time to me? Yeah, because it is actually painful for a tree. Yeah, there is consciousness in every branch, every leaf. Yes, yes. There's even a tree is bleeding when he's cut. Yes, the juice comes out. Yeah, so wow, I thought this was amazing, that this tree recognized that person. So we may ask, well, but the tree doesn't have eyes, how can he recognize? Well, through that energy of that person. Yes, the tree could perceive, oh no, this guy is coming. And there is also a nice story because Prabhupada was so much emphasizing that we should not cut down trees just whimsically. Anybody of you has been to Juhu Temple in Mumbai? Yes. Okay, a couple of people. So maybe you remember there is this tree almost in the middle of the road. This tree doing here. You seen this tree? Not really. I immediately saw it, because it stands out. It's like there's a rather narrow road, and in the middle of one lane, that's where this tree is. And anybody else would have cut off this tree. But when Prabhupada got this property in Juhu, he instructed the devotees, don't cut off this tree. Yeah, and they followed it. And it's all tarred road around the tree, but the tree is there. And it really stands out because it's odd, it looks really weird that this tree is there, yes. So the cars really have to go around the tree there, So, and when Prabhupada had left Juhu and he came back some year later or something, when devotees met him at the airport, Prabhupada immediately asked, is this tree still there? Or did you cut it off? Actually, Giriraj Maharaj is sharing that story in one of his Vyasapuja, which is to Prabhupada. And he's saying, just see, Prabhupada was so concerned even about a tree, what to speak of each and every one of his disciples or each and every human being. But now even about the trees he was so concerned. So yeah. Just be cutting down away. Get rid of it. Some reasons why we can cut down trees if we need some wood for building or agriculture. There's a few reasons, but so often we just don't like it. It's disturbing us. Okay, let's kill it. Because that's actually what we're doing. And even vegetables, flowers, there's consciousness there. I know one devotee in Almvik, on the farm there, we have an Iskon farm in Sweden, Almvik. So there's one family, they grow organic vegetables. And I was once about this topic of consciousness and vegetables and plants. And he was saying, oh yes, I'm convinced. And he said, my neighbor, he also grows organic vegetables and he has better soil, but my carrots taste better. Because I talk to my carrots. I chant Hare Krishna to them. I'm nicely taking care of them because I want them to give pleasure to Panchatattva, to the temple deities. So, and therefore they're more happy, and therefore they taste better, you know. Yes. So, and I mean, these days in the supermarkets you can get organic carrots. But usually they're maybe because they're not grown by, it's all industrialized growing, you know, big greenhouses and all machines go through doing the watering, the weeding. You know, it's pretty boring for the poor carrots, you know, just being taken care of by machines, you know, yeah. So that's why they're not so happy and that's why they're not so tasty. But all the carrots or vegetables which are grown by some old grannies in the backyard, they taste so much better. Yes, because all the love and care and affection goes into the vegetables and flowers we grow. Even with flowers, when you get the flower, like flowers from, yeah, or from the forest, yes. Yeah, so if we are a little perceptive, we can feel these differences. Now, one very last point, and then we'll come to an end. Amazingly, consciousness travels on sound vibration. This is a special arrangement by the Lord, I believe, because the voice is very closely connected to emotions, right? If we are angry, it will come out of our mouth. Doesn't matter how much we are trying to hide it, we can't. Because that angry consciousness produces the sound. This vibration is screaming and yelling. Ooh, it feels very unconsciousness. Oh, it travels on the sound and ooh, it affects your heart. Yes. Yeah, so that's why kirtan is a whole transcendental affair. It's not just some jolly music or something. Especially if the kirtan leader really turns to Krishna and calls out to him, longing to serve, longing for the relationship in devotion, then that consciousness travels on the sound and it affects each and every person's heart in the audience. Yeah, it's quite a mysterious affair. Actually, this is what takes place when we associate. There is a subtle heart-to-heart transfer of consciousness. That's what happens. So that's why we carefully should choose who we more closely associate, because we capture what that person carries in his heart. Yeah. And we also give to others what we carry in our heart, especially through sound, singing, speaking, like that. So that's the whole deep, mysterious importance of sangha, of association. It's a subtle, mysterious transformation and exchange of consciousness. So good to know. Again, that's why those of us who are a little more serious in bhakti, that's why we are very careful what kind of music we surround ourselves. That's why we don't really like to have Bollywood music there blaring through our home or something. Because, what consciousness are these singers in, they just want to show off and name, fame and adoration and money and all that. So, no, or some rock music or something. Rock music is really propagating the mode of passion. You know, it actually stimulates lusty desires, let's be honest. You know, yes. So that's why we try and avoid these kind of things. You know, yes. So we have to carefully choose what sound we want to invite in our life. You know. Yes. So, all right, let me see. Do we have a quick question? Okay.
First of all, thank you, Mataji, for such a wonderful and eye-opening lecture. And my question is that often when we talk about the diet which we eat or the food which we take, then there is always some debate going on with others that if we are even eating fruits or vegetables, then it also has some consciousness. Then
Okay.
how can it be that we are not causing pain for them? And the second one is that often it is said that eggs are not fertilized or they are unfertilized, so they are not conscious. So it's valid to have eggs.
Okay. All right. Well, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, food offered to me, you know, is a sacrifice. Then we don't get any reactions. So you can say it's the perfection of a banana to be offered to the Lord and devoured by devotees. You know, so there is no reaction. You know, yeah, because also, I mean, every plant has its lifespan and is destined to die at some stage. So that's why we should offer food, you know, and even by changing the mantras, as we said, consciousness travels on sound vibration. So that also affects the molecules of the food. There has been experiments made. There was this is even only think on, but if a person thinks very hatefully towards this glass of water, oh, I hate you, I want to kill you. Just the thinking affects the molecules. Yeah. And they're all in a disturbed arrangement. Whereas when you have very loving thoughts towards a glass of water, then they arrange in a very colorful rainbow arrangement. Yeah. So, I mean, these experiments have been made, you know. Yes, yes, yes. So it's all pretty factual. That's why plants, there's also some experiment made with plants, that pot plants in our home, they grow better with and rock and all that. I don't blame them, you know. Classical music, they like that better, you know. And maybe nice kirtan, even better, you know. Yes. But if the kirtan gets almost like techno, not sure what the plants are saying, you know. Yes. And second, what was the second question?
The eggs are not
Oh,
fertilized.
the eggs. Actually, just before I came here, end of July actually it was, I was at the Baltic Festival and Shrutakirti Prabhu was there and a few other young senior devotees and preachers, and we had our VIP prasadam there separately, and during the prasadam he was sharing all kinds of interesting stories with Prabhupada because he traveled as his personal servant for quite a while with Prabhupada. And he was mentioning, but I hope, you know, this will not encourage you now to eat eggs. But he was saying that once Prabhupada was asked about the same thing with the eggs, and then he was just saying, unclean food. unclean food, like garlic, onions, unclean, you know. And yeah, I mean, if you think, what are we eating there? You know, a hen's menstruational products there, you know, and it's all glibbering and you know, so yeah, it's unclean. And obviously Krishna doesn't like it, you know, so we can't really offer it, you know. But in one sense, from what Shuddhakirti Prabhu said, it sounded like, yeah, it's not really killing because the eggs are not fertilized. But sometimes they are. I also had that where there was some little blood in an egg as a kid. I remember, oh my God, what the hell is that? You know, yeah, so sometimes, but yeah, unclean. You know. Anything else?
Hare Krishna, yeah, we mentioned about that the children's consciousness is not so developed in the early stage. So does that make the children more pure or impure?
Well, more innocent, you know, and in one sense more pure, because a child doesn't know about sex life and greed and lust and all these things. False ego is already setting in at a pretty young age, but innocent and pure-hearted, simple-hearted. So, and that's why there's such formative years, you know, especially the first 5 years, and then out of the first 5 years, the first 3 years are super important. Oh my God. I've got a whole 15-hour course on children, which I give in my whole. The recordings are somewhere there on the internet. Yes, it's a whole thing, you know. My God, I don't even want to start talking about this topic. But often we don't understand the importance of mothers. Yes. Being a mother is one of the most important services. Yeah. She is the first guru. She plants the seed of bhakti in the child's heart. She gives the emotional strength and balance and health to a person. And it is just so terrible. It always pains my heart to see how ladies, you know, when the kid is only 1 or something, they dump it off on the daycare center just to have their work and career and this and that. They don't even realize how much they damage their child for the rest of this life. That's why these days people are so, in Australia we say, screwed up. You know, you understand what screwed up means? You know, so disturbed and crazy and full of complexes and insecurities and aggressions and it all goes back to the mother. Yeah. And this is even understood by researchers and scientists. It's not just we devotees say this, but still people don't understand what an important role motherhood is. Yes. In spiritual culture, mother comes straight after Krishna, comes mother. Matru Devo Bhava, Pitra Devo Bhava, Chaya Devo Bhava, Titi Devo Bhava. I'm sure anybody who's from Indian background, you know this, right? Yes. So Matru Devo Bhava means the mother is representing God. Pitra Devo Bhava, the father is representing God. Chaya Devo Bhava, the teacher. Atiti Devo Bhava, the uninvited guest, should be treated like God. Unknown here in the Western world. Yeah.
Any
Yes.
guest.
Huh?
Any guest.
Any guest. And even the uninvited. You know, we must open the door. Hey, I didn't know you coming. See you later. You know. Wrong time. I'm eating now. See you later. You know. Yes. But Matru Deva Bhava, she is first. You know. And I once heard Bhakti Vasamrita Maharaj saying this nice thing he was saying. a sannyasi. Everybody pays obeisances to him, except one person, his mother. She will not pay obeisances to him, but he pays obeisances to her and touches her feet. Yeah, that's position of mother. You know? But in materialistic culture, mothers, what? You're only mother and housewife? My God, what are you doing all day? You know, yes. You know, the mother is the loser, the slave who can't enjoy life and all this. You know. Big topic. I'm not sure if we have time for another question.
Okay, time.
All right, quick one.
Actually, you hide this.
You're from Nepal, right?
Yeah.
I can see it on your cool hat.
This is our practice, right?
I know, I'm preaching in Nepal. I've been there many times.
Oh, thank you.
Very-
Actually, Hare Krishna. You told about the planet, plant and the human being. How can we harmony with the plant? From many years, I am researching myself because there is a one tree. Always I am going there and 5 minutes just I am touching with seed and coming back every day. I am looking hard, but sometimes the feeling I am getting. But how can we harmony with plant and
Well, harmony comes by respect. If we respect the trees and plants, you know, then there will be harmony. We treat them nicely. But if we disrespect and we think we can exploit every living entity around us for our interest and gratification, so then there will be no harmony, you know. So it's a matter of respect, understanding that there is a spirit soul in this form of life. You know. Actually, Prabhupada was saying those people take birth as trees who like to expose their bodies and be half naked. So then you get a tree body here, you can stand naked for many, many years. Yes, so, you know, we have to have the spiritual vision that there's spirit soul in each and every living entity. And we have to treat them with respect, compassion, you know. And we don't want to unnecessarily harm them, but care for them, you know. And we can chant Hare Krishna to them, you know. They hear it, not with the ears, but the sound vibration they can feel. Okay, so let me now just very quickly say a few words about these books. I will be out there on the book table. Even if you have questions, you can come and visit me there. So we have 6 interesting books. Spiritual Culture, Krishna's Divine System. This book is all about women. We women have a powerful Shakti. We are meant to be the empowering, inspirational energy to the man. And we are not meant to compete with the man. But now, modern days, man-woman equality, we women often compete with the man. And most men don't really like that so much, maybe you noticed. So the men always love this book. They always say, oh, finally somebody understands a man's heart. So yeah, any woman who wants to have harmonious relationships with men in her life, not only in family, even at work or the community, please, ladies, check out this book. And every man who wants to get the empowerment of a woman and the support, you should also check out this book. Yes. Then we have, and this book is also available for Russian and Russian language, just in case there's somebody who speaks Russian. Then we have Sheltering Relationships. This book is all about the topic of having a mentor, a counselor, a coach. Just having guru not enough. We need this well-wishing friend on a very regular basis who helps us to move forward who can correct us, who can help us to balance our life. If we don't have that, very easily we stay in our comfort zone because we like it there. And then we become stagnant. And then we can come here for 30 years every Sunday and even do a bit of some service. But nothing really transforms in our heart and our life. But if we have a mentor, then the mentor will tell us, hopefully, how to move forward step by step in a very individual way. And there's the topic of envy, which we discussed last week. It's in this book. And culture of correcting others, culture of respect, so many interesting practical topics. Also available in Russian. And then we have the false ego, our constant companion and troublemaker. Title speaks for itself. Some of you may have watched the last 2 sessions yesterday, the day before. We had 2 seminar sessions here in the evening on false ego. But in the book is so much more, which we could not discuss. Because false ego is so subtle and easily we can feed and boost it and massage each other's false egos instead of subduing and dissolving it. False ego battles, a married life can be a whole battle of false egos. Who is right, who is wrong, just see, I told you, didn't I? And there's a whole chapter on chanting. How to chant so we actually can receive the power which the holy name carries. Yeah, it's in that book. Then we have Entering the Grihastha Ashram. This is a handbook for matchmaking. How to see that a man and a woman are matching for marriage. We need a bit of help with this. Even people from India. In India, they only look at caste and money and that's it. And the worst thing is, in India, they don't give the two enough time to talk. They only meet 15 minutes at a program in the temple. And then the parents make the deal. And now, so much divorce is happening in India already after 6 months. Then they realize, we don't have much in common, we don't match. And then they separate. Yes. So we have to refine our matchmaking techniques. So here in this book you will find a whole list of over 200 topics which a man and a woman should talk about with cool head, without pink glasses. Because the pink glasses make everything look so rosy and we can't see what we get ourselves into. That's why I made it pink. Yeah, so no pink glasses with a cool head, and then gradually when we see, oh yeah, we are on the same page, then we can allow our heart to get involved. So very useful for people who are not married yet, for parents who want to help their children find a good partner, or for anybody else who wants to help others to get together in compatible relationships. And then we have Family Life as an Ashram, Secrets of Success. This is like a handbook for Krishna conscious, successful married life. How to create the culture of bhakti in our home. Not every married devotee's home life you can call an ashram. Most devotees' family life is not an ashram, I'm sorry to say, because people did not get that training. So here you will understand what it really means to keep Krishna in the center. It's easy said, yeah, Krishna's in the center, but usually he is not. And then the progress is very slow. And then people think, this family life, it's just Maya and you can't make progress. No, Grihastha Ashram is perfect. Most of our previous acharyas were Grihasthas, but their family life was an ashram, whereas ours is often not. And there's a whole chapter on physical intimacy in marriage. How to live this principle of no illicit sex life in marriage. There's also quite a bit of confusion over this, And I did some research. I came across interesting episodes with Prabhupada, where he says things which most of us have not heard, and that adds a whole different perspective to the topic. So I hope this book will make our family life more Krishna conscious and yet emotionally balanced and healthy. And last but not least, the Vanaprastha Ashram, meeting death with joy. There's a whole chapter on death, what happens, how to prepare, what considerations to take, how to support others in this final journey. For parents, our parents are leaving, senior devotees are leaving. We have to know, we have to educate ourselves. What's the use of all our preaching if in these last 2 weeks we don't know how to give support to people? So by Krishna's arrangement, I supported quite a few people in this last 2 weeks. My own parents also. I packed all my flying around the world, came back to Germany. I kept them at home. I fully took care of them, helped them to let go and focus. Both my parents had an amazing departure, even though they were not chanting Hare Krishna. I'm describing it all in there. Yeah. And Vanaprastha Ashram is something we don't even talk about. It's the forgotten ashram, I call it. Yes. So and I make this joke. Prabhupada was always saying 50 we should enter Vanaprastha. So now ISKCON is 50. So it's about time to include the Vanaprastha Ashram. Very important. So if any of you want to get some books, they're 15 euros each. You can pay with credit card, with mobile pay and cash, and you can meet me out there. So please come and get some books, and I can write some good wishes inside. I don't have all the books available anymore. But anyway, we'll work it out. Okay, thank you so much, and sorry I went really over time. I hope I'm not getting into trouble here. Srila Prabhupada ki, Samaveta Bhakta ki, Gaura Premanandi.
Hari Hari Bol. The praise Devaki